This is 12 Hours in the Future with Maria Sanchir. Welcome back to my second episode in conversation with Professor Dante Albertie, actor, writer, and director. He is also the founder and director of Lehman Stages at Lehman College at City University of New York. I read some things about you online. There's a website that's called ratemyprofessors.com, if you heard about it.
Sure.
So people say that you're an amazing lecturer, you're hilarious, and you're caring. And all the students that wrote anything there said that they would take your class again, 100%. So one student wrote, Dante is the bomb diggity. It's a quote. And another one wrote, the best. Every theater program should have a crazy guy like him. Very nice person, the best. So I was wondering if you could tell us about your tactics, your perspectives, or is there any magical ingredient that makes your class so fun and why your students like you so much?
Well, thank you. And I think I wrote two of those. I'm not sure. One of those I wrote. I'm not sure which one. If I do anything differently than anyone else, any of my colleagues that teach, I think perhaps what it would be is, and I'm not even sure this is true, I just know that this is my mindset, is I don't want to say I was never a good student, but I was never a good student. So going to get my grad degree, that was part of what I was trying to overcome, was this label that I put on myself as not being a good student. So in a lot of ways, I was able to overcome it. And then I saw some ways that I still wasted time or didn't do things in a way that reminded me of my 18-year-old self or 19-year-old self. But anyway, so I had this feeling when I look back at my education that I wasn't the greatest student. And I understand what it is to struggle, and I understand what it is to have a test and pull the cover over your head and not go in. I know all of that stuff. I didn't go into academia because I was a student. You know what I mean? I went into, with my job here, it's more of a practitioner job really than a teaching job. But one of the perks is I get to teach one class. So I approach it as not first of all, I'm very, very understanding of the lives of the young people here and all the things that they have, having a full-time job, being the first generation of their family to go to school, having a child, all that stuff I'm very understanding about. I feel them, and I'm not, I tell them, I'll give them the midterm and I'll tell them, this test is not, I don't give you these tests to be punitive. This is not, these tests are not a judgment of your character. This is a test to make sure there are a few things that I really want you to know when you leave. And I'm just trying to find out if I've been successful in getting you to know these things, right? So, and I come at it too, where it's, I say to them up front, this isn't really a class. I don't want you to think of it as a class. I want you to think of twice a week, you have a meeting with me. We are arts leaders, because that's what the class is about. It's performing arts management. And I talk to them about being arts leaders, what an arts leader is, why it's important. I tell them, twice a week, you're meeting with fellow arts leaders and you are contributing. You're contributing, you're creating your own company, you're being an adult. So if you were to have a scheduled meeting with someone in the real world, you wouldn't just show up. You wouldn't just not show up and not call, or
Right.
You wouldn't be a half hour late, and not say sorry. You wouldn't say, hey, okay, I'm on this committee and we have 12 meetings, but I'm going to miss 3 of them, or I'm going to miss 4 of them, or I'm going to miss, you wouldn't do any of that stuff. Don't, I consider you guys adults, so don't waste my time. I also talk about how it's the, for lack of a better word, I use an expletive that I won't use here, but this is the honesty zone. Okay. So, you can really feel free to speak your mind. And we're also going to be talking about things, we're going to be talking about theater program shows that we go see. And it's very, very possible that some of the people in this class are in those shows, right? We need to be able to have an open, honest discussion. And you guys also need to learn how to have a critical discussion without it being, I thought it sucked. That's not a critical discussion. So,
Right.
and I have a sense of humor, and I still, I love the kids. The teaching is a very, very special part of the job. For my job being the director of Lehman Stages, knowing who the young people are that are moving through the program is very important. If I all of a sudden didn't teach for 3 or 4 years and had no idea who the kids were that were walking around, that's not good. That's not a good fit. That would suck. Really
Right.
would.
Yeah, which leads me into the next question about the Stagecraft Intensive program
Mhm.
that you are coming up with, and why is it so important, and what is the goal of it, and again, what inspired you to start it?
Okay, so let me start with what the thought process was to start it. I've wanted to for a long time. It's been an idea that it's been rolling around in my head for quite a while. And we talked about ADD before. knowing the way my brain works. If you wanted to do something like this interview, okay, I was absolutely thrilled to do it, but you had to let me know that you weren't going away, and you sent me 3 emails, and all of a sudden there was a deadline and there was a date set up, and I'm there. My thing is, if I can do it, I can. So if I'm physically able to do it, I'm going to do it. When people ask me to do things, I say yes much more than no. But this thing was my own idea, and a lot of times with my own idea, I just sort of, one of these days I'll get around to it, and something happens and I get busy. I put it out into the universe, which I'm learning is really sort of important. I put it out there. I'm thinking about this, blah, 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 blah. And I put it out there to my staff, and my staff is busy. So, okay, he'll come up with it one of these days. But then I put it out to some friends of mine that run an amazing organization in the Bronx called Dream Yard. And I could see their heads nodding as I was saying it, and then they wouldn't leave it alone. They wouldn't leave it alone. So as we got, I was on a couple of calls, and they would say, and Dante has this wonderful program called the Stagecraft Intensive, and it's very, very exciting. And they were making it sound like I was doing it already.
Oh, right.
Right. And they weren't saying, oops, I'm sorry, you're not doing it yet. I got ahead of the game. They would just talk about it like I was doing it. So then basically, it's incredible. April or May, I'm not sure, of this year, they said, hey, listen, man, we're putting stuff together for the summer. And that program that you're talking about is so great. You think you could have it together for the summer? I was like, oh, no. We're waiting. We're going to do this next year. We're doing this next year. It's like, really? And I thought to myself, you know what? If I don't do it now, this is exactly the kind of impetus. I have somebody asking me to do it. I have somebody telling me, you're crazy if you don't do it. Let's try it. And let's not be afraid let's put the fear away, and let's not be afraid to screw things up, because we'll learn things that work and we'll learn things that don't work. And that thinking really, for me, is kind of new, because I get this feeling like I have to do it perfectly. If I don't do it perfectly, then, or if I can't figure out how to do it perfectly, then I'm afraid of it. This was, okay, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. So we started off, and really the feeling of the basic premise and the idea behind it was stagecraft, the industry, and I've learned this when I've gone to hire people to fill positions with us. I found, I've heard it anecdotally through people who work in the industry. It's not particularly diverse. So we wanted to do something that helps that would change that. The other thing about stagecraft is we're a perfect school to sort of show first generation people that come to this school, first generation, Dominican, Black, whoever, that come to the school that want to follow a career in the arts. And they have members of their family that are really, really questioning, what are you going to get with some sort of degree in the arts? What can you possibly do? This idea that you could have a viable career as a stagehand, as a set designer, as a master electrician, as a tech director, that you could have viable, lucrative work doing that kind of stuff if you were interested in it, if somebody showed it to you, because a lot of these kids don't even know it exists. We felt that was a really, really good fit. We could have, talking to a friend of mine she's an actor, and I said, she said, what are you guys doing over the summer? And I told her about the program. And she's like, oh, that's really great. And I said, yeah, we're going to do some performing classes. Next year, we're going to do some performance classes and acting classes. She's like, well, they can get acting classes anywhere. This thing with the stagecraft is really, really interesting. And I thought to myself, she's right. I could do a solo performance class. The kids would think it was very exciting. It would all be great. But really, this idea of turning these kids on to this whole other world, I think is really, really important. And the feeling is that if we get, why it's such a bonus to us, that if we get one kid, we do it for a couple of years, and we get one or two kids who are interested enough and want to do it as a career, we've really, that world is small. So we've really done something to help change the look of it. The other thing is that if we find young people that really have an aptitude and really want to do it, a couple of things happen. They create a relationship with the college. So now maybe they want to come to the college. And if they don't want to come to the college, they create a relationship with us. And now we have homegrown people that we've been training since high school that come and work with us.
So it's not necessarily,
so it's a win-win in every way that you can think of.
Right. So it's not necessarily for Lehman students.
No, it's not at all.
For everybody.
No, it's not at all. It's for, it's for high school students. High school students.
How amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what's what do you do? What's the plan? What do you do? Acting classes for the kids who want to do that, or just
not yet, but we will.
Oh, how amazing.
We're trying to decide, we're trying to figure out how to scale it up. We really want to make, obviously we want to make the Stagecraft Intensive part. We want to really get that to a place where, it's firing on all cylinders, make the cohort a little bit bigger. We had 6 young people. They were all women, which was fabulous. Make that bigger, maybe get some men involved, young men involved. Because DreamYard came to us and said, hey, can you do this program? We decided, because DreamYard was so excited about it, that we were going to use kids from the schools that DreamYard works in. So we didn't put the word out to everybody. We didn't put the word out to all the schools that we work with. So this year, I think we're going to cast a much wider net. And I think we're going to see, that a lot of people are interested. When I sent an email out after the program is over, telling the community that we had this program and that it was really, that we loved it, it was wonderful. I got emails back going, my daughter's interested in things like that. Could she take the class? So that kind of response. So I think, it's high school age. But I think I think we'll keep it. I think we'll keep it high school age, but I wouldn't, if somebody applied, someone was a freshman in college and applied and wanted to do it, I don't think we'd turn anybody away
So
that
it's
way.
basically starting. So you're just thinking like there's no like specific definition for it yet, is it?
Yes, it's a pilot program that doesn't have, it's not something that you can necessarily look up online. If right now I'd say, Dante, send me some information about your program, and I would send you a blurb, and I would send you the write-up that I wrote for the community. But from now until next summer, we're really gonna, maybe we're gonna write it up. We're going to maybe apply for some funding, because it's all free.
Right. Okay. It sounds amazing. I wanted to ask about something else also. You say that one of the things that you want to do is to create opportunities for kids, for students, and how do you see it? How do you think, what is the opportunity for you? Like because I've been into movies, like I live movies. For me, I've been looking into the United States education in film for a really long time. And what I see is the first thing to get success is if you're talented enough and et cetera, et cetera. First thing is to have a representation. If you don't have a representation, it's very hard. And I was talking about it to Professor Carney as well. And I think, what is what do you create as an opportunity for students? I wanted to ask about that.
Well, the programs that we do, getting representation, you're right, is very difficult. The theater program is starting to work on putting together, right before the pandemic, they did it. They were scheduled to do it during the pandemic, so they didn't do it as a for the first time. But they're trying to put together an annual showcase for their senior actors and dancers, putting on a showcase that they invite industry people to come see, agents and managers and stuff like that. With Lehman Stages, our programs are really supposed to be a bridge between the academic and the professional, meaning you come out of Lehman, and while you're looking for your big break, you're looking for work, you can work here. You can do the Bronx Music Project with us. You could be in a children's theater show and get paid, because that's, what we want to do is we want to create a situation where, okay, guys, while you're figuring out how to sort of do your thing in the world, you have an artistic home that you can sort of come back to and, make a little money. Not anything that anybody's going to make a living in, but this is what it feels like. If you do a show with us, if you do a show as part of the Bronx Repertory Company, the rehearsal period isn't 3 months like it would be in an academic program. It's going to be a month. We're going to do 8 shows instead of 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever they do. We're going to do 12 shows. It's a longer run. Everybody in the piece is going to have a certain talent level. A lot of times with a BA program, you'll see a show and there's a person who is obviously, very talented, has an aptitude, is going to pursue it, maybe go to grad school. And then there's somebody who just wants to get on stage for the first time and see how that feels. So the quality sometimes is like this. When you do a show with us, the quality is this, because
Right.
it's not, everybody has a right to try out for the baseball team. Not everybody has a right to be on the baseball team. Whereas with the academic programs, that's not what it's about. It's about giving people stage experience, and where a conservatory is different. Conservatory has that mindset. that you can audition, but not everybody's allowed.
Right.
You can audition to be in the program, but not everybody's allowed to be in the program. The theater program here doesn't audition to get into the program. So creating opportunities is just like doing cool stuff and including the students. And maybe that leads to something, or maybe that the fact that I paid them $200 to do a children's theater show makes them feel like they can call themselves a working actor, and that gives them confidence to go out and do something else that week instead of working retail or instead of doing the other things. So that's really the thought behind creating opportunities. Creating opportunities for people to work and do good work they can be proud of.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the behind the counter with Mussolini. Obviously, it's definitely something that we cannot just leave out there in the air. So I wanted to talk about that. And you wrote the play, I think, and directed it. So can you tell me about it? Like, what's it about? Because I haven't seen it, unfortunately, and people who are listening to this probably want to know as well. And what is this about? And it was referred to online as very touching and funny. So I believe it was amazing. And what inspired you to write it, and your days in Belmont Playhouse as well.
That play was written by myself and Marco Greco, who was my partner at the Belmont Playhouse. Very talented, very talented performer, talented writer. His father, who passed away a couple of years ago, was this very famous, larger than life character in Little Italy in the Bronx. He was the Mike of Mike's Deli, which is a famous deli in the Arthur Avenue retail market. And Marco would tell me all kinds of stories about his father, and I was always riveted by those stories. So one day I said to Marco, we should do a show, about your dad, because if I'm riveted, people will be riveted. You sort of feel that way, and that's what sort of guides me. If I think it's interesting and I can't, look away from it, or then I just assume, it might be cocky, but I just assume that other people would find it interesting. So Marco, we talked about ADD. Marco had ADD like nobody's business. So the idea of, I'm going to go sit by myself and write a show wasn't happening. So, and I did too. But he made me look like, I was Steve Jobs. So I put the framework together. I came up with the title. Behind the Counter with Mussolini was based on the fact that his father had a picture of Benito Mussolini on the wall behind the deli counter, right? So, and he ran the counter with an iron hand, okay, and made people jump. And he was, Marco growing up as a young man with a father like this. That's what the show is about. So it really is a wonderful piece. So we co-wrote it, and basically the writing part of it was, I set up the name, I set up the premise, which was that his father, as a young boy in Italy, when the Allies came and the Italians dragged Mussolini down the street and hung him by his ankles upside down, that the young boy reached out and touched the hand of Mussolini, and Mussolini's life force was passed to this kid. And then this kid grew up and started a deli, and he started running the deli like Mussolini. So that was basically the idea. So then after that was set up, it was really about turning a tape recorder on and having Marco do the stream of consciousness thing. And then me going back and going, okay, that doesn't work, this works, that doesn't work, this works, that doesn't work. And we formed it into this thing. And people were just blown away by it. It was one of those pieces that even as a director and a co-author, you are watching and you go, "Oh, I can't wait till we get to this part." they're gonna love this part. Oh, I can't wait till we get to, always excited. There was never a bottoming out of it. It just felt great. And the other thing too is that he would talk to you as his father while his father was making mozzarella cheese. Okay. And when you make mozzarella cheese, it's like a whole hand. Okay. Marco was very skilled at that. So he would make mozzarella cheese on stage. And then during intermission, he would hand the cheese out to everybody. So you came and so not only were you hearing this story about this guy working behind a deli counter and how, mozzarella was synonymous with life, you actually got to taste it. Right. So it was really a full experience and really, really incredible. And that was Marco's, that was the last thing that Marco did at the Playhouse. Marco was ready to leave the Playhouse, and that was sort of his swan song, as it were. The Playhouse was interesting because I was working in a theater downtown and Marco was working at the deli, and somebody from the neighborhood said that there was a tourism meeting. So Marco said, "Oh, I want to go to this neighborhood tourism meeting," and he sat at the tourism meeting. And then a guy named Lou Izzo, who owned a supermarket on the street on 180 on Arthur, said, "I have this space upstairs," and Marco said, "Oh, I'd love to start a theater." And Louis said, "Okay, go ahead." So Marco called me. I came the next day. We started this theater. That's obviously didn't happen that quickly, but it happened. And then it became this beloved institution, which I'm very, very proud of. But it was very, it was a crazy, crazy, crazy journey to get there. But the experience and the stuff that it taught me, I met my wife there, had a huge impact. It depends on when you ask me. I'll look back sometimes and go, "Oh my God, completely ridiculous and silly, and I should have had a real job, and what the hell was I doing?" And then other times I feel, very, very proud of it. And I feel proud of it too, because what I've learned as I've gotten older is that while I was doing it, my feeling was like, hey, if anybody had this opportunity, they would do what we're doing. We're not special. We don't know what we're doing. Everybody would do it, blah, blah, blah. As I go through the world and I meet people, young people that were my age at the time, that's not true. That everybody would do it. That's not true. That's not true that people would have the opportunity to do it, have the opportunity to maintain it, have the, maybe even the courage to maintain it, have to, two people who really didn't know how to do anything else. I ran the place for many, many years after Marco left. That was an amazing experience. So, so that's the Belmont Playhouse.
I believe you were there about 10 years.
Yep.
Is it? Yeah.
Yep.
It sounds amazing. And I was wondering, as a director, what was the biggest challenge that you ever faced? This is very interesting for me because I'm a film major and I always want to know, because directors talk about a lot of things like boom, like what's the weather, a lot of stuff. But as a director on stage, what was your biggest challenge that you ever faced that you can immediately think of?
Yeah,
that was very difficult.
It's funny, it comes right to mind. My first foray into the first time I ever worked with medium famous, I like to say medium famous, moderately famous, celebrity type people that you would probably recognize if you saw them on the street. Not gigantic stars, but stars. As a young director, working on a new piece of theater where you were hired because of your work in the past that you've done. You were hired for your ability and your brains and your talent and whatever, your art, your craft. And then because you're a young director, not trusting that and thinking that you have to be something else for these celebrities and not doing it the way you know how to do it. and not paying attention to red flags that would pop up. Like, there is a real power and camaraderie there's something that happens that creates a clear balance of power when someone auditions for you and you cast them. Okay, to have somebody handed to you, or for a producer to say, start your rehearsals, and in 2 weeks actor X is going to come in and you have to work them in, is a whole different dynamic that I had no experience with and was probably, in retrospect, very intimidated by. I figured that these people had much more experience in the business than I did, and I think I didn't listen to myself and didn't realize that the reason you're here is because you do what you do the way you do it. I didn't trust that. And basically what that culminated in was a mistake that I'll never make again. One is getting notes from a producer, not figuring out a way to really digest those notes and make them sound like they're coming from you, and then going in and telling your actors the notes that you got from the producer that you don't even really have fully sussed out in your head, that work against some of the things you've told them. Okay, have them look at you like, Dante, what the hell are you telling me? You know, we've been in a foxhole together for 5 weeks working on this, and now you're telling me something you've never told me before, and I can tell by the look on your face that you don't even know what the hell it is you're saying. And now you're going to tell me, I don't know, the producers told me. Don't tell me, don't ever say that to an actor. That I'm giving you something to do, I don't agree with it, but producers want it. Never say that. Second mistake, okay, these are sort of two different shows, but with the same playwright. Second mistake is really just getting to a point where you go, where the producer says, you know, where you're going into the dressing room with these celebrities, and the work environment is so hot and stinky and fraught, and really not by any fault of yours, but it's just the personalities. It's just disgusting. And you having notes for them, but really just being like, I don't even want to go in and say anything, and have the producer go in and talk to them. Okay. Gigantic mistake. The second you do that, when they come out, they don't need you anymore. Okay. So really, that's a specific one, but it all comes down to trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself. So I came out of that and that rocked me to my core. You know, one of the shows I wound up walking away from, I was the director of record, but they brought in a very famous director to finish it up. And when I went back to see it with my agent, it was my show. They didn't do anything different, except they started getting accused. Nothing happened except they trusted this guy because he was more famous than they were. Okay.
Right.
So this idea of trusting yourself. And after that experience, I swore never, you know, my thing was, they don't know more than you, and don't sweat them. And what wound up happening is my wife wrote a play. We did a production of it downtown. We got a really, really nice review in the Times. And I was, you know, I wound up being able to enter the club being producing in the city and getting your Times review and having people talk about it. I entered that club on my own terms. I didn't have to do it through, let's throw this celebrity at it. Let's throw this celebrity at it. And the playwright is giving you a play that is really 3/4 baked, okay? And all of these actors are smart enough to know it. And there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. So they're taking it out on you, okay?
Right.
When an actor who agrees to be in a play, has had the script for months, comes into her first reading after we've been rehearsing for 2 weeks and says, this play is racist, okay? And the playwright's not there. What do you do? So, you know, those are incredible. incredible learning experiences. And that's the tough story that comes to mind. When I followed my own thing and I was the boss, yes, there were lots of tough times, but I knew I had the power to change things. When you have somebody saying to you, this is an actor who's agreed to do this show, okay? Our entire box office counts on this actor being associated. Your hands are tied. Or they're not. As a 54-year-old, I'm not putting up with any of that shit. As a 30-year-old, different story. Because I just used my check that they paid me to do the show. I just bought my wife an engagement ring. Okay, it's a different animal. I want to have a career. So I just did what I was supposed to do, but it doesn't work like that.
For sure.
It doesn't work if you're not true to yourself. It does not work.
Wow. What an amazing conversation. There's one last thing that I wanted to ask. Absolutely different. Absolutely different.
Yeah, Carney gave you the wrap it up.
I was thinking, the last thing, just tell me about the first thing that comes to your mind, the last movie that stayed with you. Like, wow.
Oh, shit. Well, this would be cheating because I just saw it last night and I thought it was really powerful. And in the beginning, I thought it was just going to be pretentious and we were going to turn it off. But I wound up watching it with my wife and my 15-year-old daughter. It's a documentary called The Sunshine Hotel. It's on Netflix now, and it's about one of the last of the flop houses on the Bowery, circa 1999. And you watch it and you sort of think, okay, these are guys telling you their very sad stories. And then all of a sudden, some of these characters and how brilliant they are and their outlook on life. And it's just spins your head around. And the other thing that I watched, that's not really, I don't think it's really a movie. There was a limited series that I just finished watching called The White Lotus. Really, really good. Really, really good. It's funny. My daughter asked me all that. My daughter's really into movies and wants to I think she could sort of get a handle on who I am by asking me what my favorite movie is, and then she's going to go back and watch it. But I know the second we get off, I'm going to be able to figure out what movie I've seen recently that really excites me. I just can't think of any now. But I love film also a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not as
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I would be, I haven't had, and I'm glad when I interviewed Gabby, because I know where Gabby's from and where her head's at, and Steve Giergis, who won a Pulitzer, as a dramatist. If I was doing this interview with a theater scholar, I'm nowhere as well read. I haven't seen anywhere near as many plays as I really should have, doing the work that I've done for all these years. I'm not a buff. I'm a lover of, but not a a theater or film buff, not really.
Right. Thank you, Professor Albertie. It was an amazing conversation.
You're very welcome, my dear.
12 Hours in the Future is produced by Jim Carney, Maria Sanchir, and we had technical help from Yves Dessous. Special thanks to Professor Tom O'Hanlon and Dean James Mann. The executive producer and host of 12 Hours in the Future is Maria Sanchir. 12 Hours in the Future with Maria Sanchir is a series of conversations recorded simultaneously in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and around the world by the Bronx Journal Radio through the resources of Lehman College, City University of New York.
You can reach us at info@12hoursinthefuture.com. We're on Instagram and YouTube.
Or you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. This show is protected under international copyright and may not be recorded or retransmitted without written consent. Until next time, when we see you 12 hours in the future.